continued to try to develop that.
Yeah, she's a great candidate.
Oh yeah, she is. She's couldn't ask for anyone who is brighter, more articulate, more personable, willing to work hard. You know, all the things that you'd like to see, not just in a candidate, but in a public official.
Right. I'll just start here, and kind of what we're looking at is the trend of some of these would have been traditional GOP urban precincts have kind of shifted into, you know, a purple stage. This is, as I just mentioned, Cindy Munson, her district, you know, is part of this precinct, and Governor Fallon barely won re-election in this precinct. It was very close. How talk about opportunities for Democrats and what have been these typically GOP urban precincts?
Well, you know, those are the areas that where the special elections took place that we won this year. You know, Owasso is a suburb of Tulsa, heavily Republican. Cindy Munson's seat was held by Representative Dank before his untimely death and had been a Republican for at least 50 years, I think. I'm not sure that there is a House or Senate district that we cannot win as the Democratic Party, and the reason is that, first of all, the Oklahoma Democratic Party, I think, is being recognized as not the same thing as the National Democratic Party. We're concerned about state issues. We reflect the views of the people in this state. We're concerned about good schools, good education, good roads and highways, good infrastructure, balancing our budget, preserving the integrity of cities and counties and making local decisions, you know, maintaining health care in rural communities in particular, but really throughout the state. Those are practical issues that Oklahomans deal with, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. And right now we're the party that focuses on that. The Republican Party has stopped talking about it, and as a consequence, a lot of what I would call the Henry Bellman Republicans or the Ronald Reagan Republicans, people who are conservative but who wanted to see good government. You know, that was their goal, is we want the government to work right. We'd like to keep the government small and personal. Recognize that it's actually the Democratic Party in Oklahoma that is the party advancing that, not the Republican Party.
Is it harder for the Democratic Party to reach more rural, typically Republican voters than it would be to make inroads in these urban precincts, or is it a different kind of challenge?
Well, it's a different kind of a challenge. In the urban areas, you know, a candidate can actually knock on doors and see most of the people, and that's always one of the key issues on winning, is your willingness to go out and work. In the rural areas that have been really spread out by the gerrymandering that took place, you just can't do that. You can't go and see everyone, and it is hard, I think, to present that message as clearly as we would like. But I think, you know, that people are simply becoming aware. You know, we gave the Republicans, I'm saying we, the state of Oklahoma says, we gave the Republicans free rein. For 6 years, it's been their show. They've run it from the top to the bottom. And where are we today? Record budget shortfalls, revenue failures. Those come from being unable to accurately predict the revenue, a deteriorating school system, you know, over 1,000 teachers where they had to waive the certification requirements just to put a teacher in the classroom. You know, hospital after hospital in rural Oklahoma going into bankruptcy. Our roads and bridges in rural Oklahoma being washed out and there's not the money to repair them. There's a crisis at the most fundamental level of government throughout, and it has been generated and is owned by the Republican Party, and they are not proposing to fix that. You know, so if you've got a kid in school then you probably need to vote Democratic if you want your kid to have an education. If you have to drive over some of the roads and bridges that are necessary to get from one part of the state to the other, then you probably need to vote Democratic, because the Republican Party has just said that's not going to be our priority. We're going to talk about stuff we can't do anything about because it sounds juicier.
Representative Munson, and I interviewed her about this, she did not make a big deal about her party affiliation. It wasn't really something that's on her literature, on her signs. Is that a good, I mean, it seemed like a really smart strategy if you're going to have people who are just going to shut the door in your face because they hear the D word. I mean, it seems like is that a good strategy, do you think? It seemed like it worked for her.
Well, I think the strategy is to recognize that you have to appeal broadly to all of the voters. And I think you'll see in a lot of Republican literature, they don't mention the R word either. The reason for that is that the fastest growing number of people, not in the party, but registered to vote, are independents. There is a big sense that the party system doesn't work like it ought to. One of the things we want to do at the state level is to say that we're going to work on that. We're going to make sure our issues are ones that are important to people, not just partisan politics. But I think you've got to recognize that the labels don't mean as much as they used to, and may be a deterrent on both sides, because it's a sense that people want someone who will be not tied into the system, but willing to work for whatever the good of the state is.
It's my last question. You have cities like Dallas, St. Louis, Atlanta, who are all big cities in red states. Do you see, is that kind of where do you see Oklahoma City? We are trending more into the purple range as far as our politics in some areas like we just talked about. Where do you see Oklahoma City in 10 years from now, just as far as its politics?
Well, I think Oklahoma City will be a moderately conservative community that will respond to candidates who address real world problems, things that people have to deal with in their daily lives. So when Joe Dorman ran, he actually carried Oklahoma City. Didn't carry Oklahoma County, but he carried the city, which is broader ranging than that. And that was because he focused on some real issues and solutions to real issues. Honestly, if Joe Dorman were running today, then I think he'd win, because when he ran, we hadn't yet experienced the $600 million shortfall that Mary Fallin had right after her election, and nor the $1.3 billion shortfall that this legislature will deal with. And to be honest with you, there's not a good solution for that. You can't just pull money out. So we're going to have some serious problems in terms of what this state does that's attributable to Republican leadership from the governor through the legislature.
Mark, thanks a lot.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Hope my answers weren't too long.
They were really good, especially